Hey everyone, so this is another post-chemo update video. It's been a little while. I've just been doing a lot of stuff with work and study and also working on a few things just mentally. And so I'm in a much better place and I've been working on a lot of things, but I'll talk about that in a second. I just first wanted to talk about just physical symptoms post-chemo and cancer now that I'm 2.5 years out of chemotherapy, and for the last couple of months I've been doing really well. I haven't had any significant physical symptoms. I know in other videos that I talked about earlier in the year I've been having issues with my eyes, and I really haven't been having any of those problems. I think maybe there was once or twice where I could feel them feeling a little strange because I had been exposed to a lot of bright light, but I haven't had any more of those kinds of migraines really come on. Maybe I've been doing better when it comes to looking at lights, or maybe my eyes have just been able to heal since I haven't been on any more small aircrafts and I haven't had that kind of triggering event where I had all that extreme pain from the change in air pressure. I don't know, but I've been doing really well with that. I haven't really had any other neuropathy stuff. I still have some mild chemobrain things, but it's pretty mild, and that's what I wanted to talk about. It's about the mild stuff and the kind of mental work I've been doing around chemobrain. I guess the other physical thing that's always exciting to look at and talk about is hair growth, and my hair is doing pretty well. It's roughly about this long, so I'm really happy with it. I can't wait till it grows even longer, but it's at a really nice length at the moment. And so the main thing that I wanted to talk about today was chemobrain and the way that I've been fighting against the very mild amount that I have left, and also the mild amount of fatigue that I have left. And it's all cognitive work, it's all mental work, but I have been finding it really helpful thus far. So a couple of months ago, I just noticed that I was in this pattern where I'd come from work or come from study and I would just feel tired, and I just felt like I could only handle doing so much work in a day, and that I just really got sick of always feeling tired and feeling sick that I couldn't just concentrate on things for a longer period of time. And I don't know, I just got really frustrated with myself because I'd always been good at being able to push through and to persevere with tasks and do multiple things at once and do difficult things and all that kind of stuff. I was always really good at that kind of stuff before chemo and cancer, and so I felt really lazy. I felt really bad about the fact that I always felt tired, that I always felt unmotivated, that I found it hard to concentrate. That was stuff that I didn't want to be part of my personality. I wanted to work against that, and for a long time I really just had to think of it as a physical thing. You know, it's part of my side effects, part of cancer and chemotherapy, and often, you know, the mental illnesses that can come with that, like depression and anxiety. But I felt like I was doing better overall, and I didn't feel like I could really lean on that kind of physical side effect kind of explanation because there'd been enough time, and I felt like I could do more work mentally to try to address these issues. And I think I just realized one day when I came back, I had a bit of an epiphany, and I just realized that when I came back from work or when I came back from study, in my free time, I was engaging in tasks, in activities, but they weren't helpful cognitively. They were things that were, I guess leisure based, because, you know, you want to make sure that you have time to relax and take care of yourself, especially if you're feeling tired or fatigued. You want to make sure that you're relaxing. But there are many ways to relax, and there are many different kinds of activities in which you can do to relax. But there are ones that actually help your brain become stronger and more resilient, and there are ones that are really mindless. And I think I realized that I was really just engaging in really mindless tasks all the time, like a lot of social media, a lot of YouTube, and reading, you know, those short bite-sized articles that I always find really interesting but weren't really helping me concentrate because they were so small, and, you know, they're designed to keep you reading multiple articles on lots of different topics as opposed to having a sustained focus on one topic. And so I guess I just realized that, I was doing stuff like that with social media, with YouTube, a lot of YouTube. As much as I love YouTube, it can be damaging mentally when you are just, when you're being mindless and you're just watching things, you're being very passive, you're not actually doing much thinking yourself, you know, playing video games. I love video games, but it was a very passive kind of activity. To some degree, things like listening to a lot of audiobooks and reading While those things are really awesome, like I love books and I think that they're great for your mind, they can be passive activities. You're not necessarily actively creating anything or actively engaging with the content the way that you might if you're talking to someone or discussing those topics in great depth. Or for example, for me, like I've mentioned many times, a great hobby of mine is writing. Having to write a story is really different to having to read a story. You're engaging in it in a much more active way, and that's really good for your brain. Whereas reading can be a more passive way, and although that's really good and healthy thing to have, if you're doing lots of kind of passive tasks, I feel like that makes you more passive as a person. And when you are sitting down with a bit of time to yourself, you're more likely to do more passive task-based things, if that makes sense. So I would go to work, do work stuff. I'd be driving back from work. I'd be listening to an audiobook or a podcast. I'd come back home. I'd start watching YouTube videos, listen to more podcasts. I'd always be engaging my brain in this mindless stuff without actually giving myself a chance to think. Even when I'd go into the shower, I'd contemplate like putting on a podcast or something that I could listen to while showering, even if I couldn't really hear it properly. And that's when I knew that I was just, engaging in it too excessively. And while I like thinking, I think I had learned how to block my thoughts and how to distract my thoughts. And I think I've kind of gone a little bit off my main point that I was trying to discuss before. But this is another important component to this chemobrain fatigue stuff, kind of remastering my mind kind of stuff, is the fact that these activities are really mindless. They are really distractible or really easy at distracting you. And I realized that I wasn't thinking much anymore. I'd think when I'm at work, I'd think when I'm doing a specific task for my study or whatever, I'd think when I'm talking to people, but I wouldn't do much like just alone, like thinking while I'm alone. And I used to do a lot of that as a child. I just have so many memories of being in the car while traveling in Spain or in Australia with my parents and just looking outside and thinking. And when we were just walking down the street, I would often just be off in my own thoughts, thinking, creating stories, just like thinking about how the day went, thinking about dreams, thinking about weird things. And I used to really enjoy that. I never was afraid of my thoughts. But cancer happened, and I realized that when I went through cancer, when I had chemotherapy, I went into survival mode. Even though I was coping well, a lot of that was because I had become numb, and that's something that I talked about in maybe my last video or a few videos ago, that I realized that I'd become quite numb to the whole experience. That was a way to survive. That's how I did cope quite well during the experience, and that has its place. But when you're trying to rebuild your life, when you're trying to become normal again, you need to be in touch with your emotions. And often when you start doing that again, you become more emotional and sad because you're reflecting on what happened to you. But I also realized that through that, I was not only numb to my emotions, but I had learned how to block my thoughts. I was always good at distracting myself. I was always the kid with a book in her hand, or with like a Nintendo DS or Game Boy in her hand. I was always... I was able to, entertain myself really easily. Now that I'm out of cancer and chemo, I've realized that I've said I've realized so many times, but it really has been a big journey of realizing things, of discovering more things about myself and learning how to kind of bounce back from all of this. So I realized that these mindless tasks that I was engaging in, I wasn't just doing it because they were easy and that they made me feel good in the moment, but I wasn't having to think about things. I was able to kind of deal with my anxiety in some way by not thinking about anxiety. And that is a legit technique to use, is to, stop your thoughts from spiraling down if you're struggling with depression or anxiety. And so instead of thinking about these kind of habits that I've created about being quite mindless, doing lots of like very simple, mindless leisure tasks like watching YouTube, things like that, and not thinking much anymore, instead of seeing them as some kind of flaw about my character, seeing myself being a lazy person, a procrastinator, someone who can't follow through with difficult tasks, I've tried to reframe it and think, you know what? You held on to a skill that you already had, and you just developed it further. You just became more excellent at that skill. You became better at stopping your thoughts. You became better at blocking out a lot of the horrors that were happening around you. You were able to escape in a fantasy world in a way that didn't take too much energy from you in a time that you had to do that. And you didn't engage with a lot of your thoughts because a lot of your thoughts were going to actually make the situation worse. And so while those things aren't serving you anymore, you need to find a new balance. I understand why you developed them, why you were able to enhance those skills the way that you did, why you leaned on them so much. And that's the reason why they're so strong. That's why those kind of muscles in my brain are so strong. My instinct is to go to something that's, very distractible, really easy, really fun, really simple. I don't have to think much about it. Like, that's the reason why I go to those tasks, because my brain, I've literally been training my brain for about a year to go to that kind of task. You should go to that first. That should be your instinct to be able to survive this year horror of what cancer and chemotherapy was, and when I was struggling with mental health stuff, to stop me kind of ruminating in that. Like, that was all adaptive at that time, but it doesn't serve me anymore. It doesn't help me to be that good at those skills. I need to become good at skills that I was once really good at. So if you've been struggling with this too, I have 2 pieces of advice. 1, be more mindful. When you do a task, do it with your full attention. Do not do anything else, and do not be scared of being bored. It's annoying. I know, I hate being bored, but after you do it for a while, you will realize that it's not that boring, and you'll probably enjoy the way that you reflect and think over your thoughts and process your thoughts, and you'll probably find the activity itself quite meditative. And secondly is review your leisure activities. What are the things that you do after work or after school that actually encourage you to be focused, or encourage you to work hard, or encourage you to use your brain in the way that you want to use your brain? Look for things that are fun but keep your focus for long periods of time. And importantly, and something that I realized was a big thing for me, is make sure that the task actually helps you relax. Because I think when we do things like, when we play video games or watch YouTube videos, it can be relaxing maybe in the moment because we don't feel stressed, we're distracted, we're not lost in our own thoughts. But then afterwards, we will probably still feel stressed, or we will still feel anxious. It's not a very good, comprehensive way of actually winding down and unraveling and relaxing. But I think sometimes we get confused, and I know that I maybe just never had a moment to really think in depth about this. But we can think that if we're just being distracted, that's relaxing. If it feels good, it's relaxing. But that's not true. There are lots of activities, like, for example, you can tell I am really caught up on YouTube, because YouTube and social media have been a real struggle for me recently. That those things feel good. They're easily distracted. You don't think, but they are not relaxing. They did not help me in any way actually feel more relaxed, feel more calm, give me moments of pause. And that can also make you feel more tired, more run down, less motivated to work on those bigger goals, on those dreams that you have. So that's why I think it's important to review the tasks, the activities that you're engaging in. So for example, just to make things a bit more concrete, I have tried to cut out a lot of my audiobooks and podcasts when I am doing something else. I try to be mindful when I'm doing the task. So even things like driving. When I drive, I've been trying to maybe about 50 to 75% of the time not listen to anything. I don't want to listen to a podcast or an audiobook. I just want to drive and listen to my thoughts if I feel like listening to them, or just focus on driving and being mindful when I'm driving. When I'm preparing food, I don't want to be listening to music or podcasts. Again, I want to just be cooking food. When I'm cleaning, I'm trying to do that also without distractions, without multiple things going on at the same time. When I'm on my laptop and I might decide to watch something like a YouTube video, I won't play a video game at the same time, or I won't have a couple of different things going on at the same time. I try to hone in on one task at a time to help build my ability to focus for longer periods. I've been trying to go on more walks and trying to change up my day and keep that kind of commitment to myself that I will try to walk every afternoon that I have a free hour. And if I'm seeing someone, that I'm not going to cancel that. But if I have a free afternoon to myself, I'm not going to get lost in a rabbit hole on the internet learning about weird, obscure things that I'm never going to use, but instead go for my walk. And that's kind of a longer term commitment to myself to keep engaging in that activity. And sometimes when I feel very scattered mentally and I don't know what to focus on, or maybe my goals, or I'm feeling a bit anxious and I don't know what to do with my thoughts, and I find myself wanting to shut them off, but in an unhealthy way, and I feel like I do need to engage with my thoughts, then I will often start writing them down, or just starting to write down like goals, like week-long goals or month-long goals, or maybe goals that I want for this year or next year, or things like that can help me figure out my priorities, and figure out where I'm at with my thoughts. I even started listing some of the more unhealthy habits that I have, or unhealthy kind of ways that I think, or maybe I've noticed that I've developed certain behaviors because of like stuff that happened years ago that I've never like reviewed. I've never thought, do I still want to do this thing? Does it help me now? Do I still enjoy doing this thing? Maybe I should change that up. And so I have found that helpful too. So the biggest thing really has been being more mindful. When I do something, do it and do nothing else. When I clean, just clean. When I drive, just drive. Only doing that has helped me significantly. Sorry if I've been a bit repetitive in all of this, but that's just how I am sometimes, especially when I'm trying to figure out exactly what's going on for me. I can, kind of chew on ideas for a long time, and that can kind of come out when I talk about them because I go in circles. But I'll just finish the video here. Please let me know if this has been helpful, and let me know down in the comments section if you've struggled with this and what you've done to help you focus, for you to redevelop habits and to work on like chemobrain, or these kind of issues that we can get from illnesses, and then we sometimes don't know how to work on them cognitively. But I feel like I have been able to do a lot of work on my chemobrain and fatigue by being more conscious of the way that I spend my time. So thanks for watching my video, and I'll see you in the next one. Okay, bye!